Welcome to another and first edition of the OU Insider post-game podcast powered by Olipop. My name is Brandon Drum. I'm here with Parker Thune, and we have a third edition that's going to be here with us
in lieu of the
every
Olipop
post-game.
can. It's Jesse Crittenden.
Yes.
I decided, you know
Jesse
what,
Crittenden.
we tried cracking the Olipop can so many times and it just wasn't working. So I just decided, you know what, we're gonna skip that whole charade this time.
Well, I'm not sure I'm quite as smooth as an Olipop can, but
nothing is quite as smooth as an
best.
Olipop can, bro. Don't. That's
Oh my God, you should be a marketer. For real though, there is 15 different flavors. You can find them at your local Sprouts, your local Whole Foods, Walmart, Target, or you can go to drinkolipop.com and type in promo code CHAMPU20 to get 20% off. Lots of good flavors: root beer, cola, no sugar. It's healthy. You get the gist. It's good for you, and it's cola. All right. Oklahoma won 73-0 today after a 28-point first quarter, which in the first minute and a half, I want to say they had 14 points.
Yeah, those first two scores
minutes,
came quick.
Yeah.
Those first two scores came real quick.
First 2.5 minutes. Excuse me. First 2 minutes and 22 seconds, if we're going to be exact. Oklahoma had 14 points on the board. And then they proceeded to score 5 minutes later, and then 8 minutes after that. Point being is Gavin Freeman had him one hell of a first quarter. Gavin Freeman had him one hell of a game. Dylan Gabriel had himself one hell of a game. And the Oklahoma defense had themselves one hell of a game. And I think the latter part is what Oklahoma fans care about more than anything else. What was the quote, Parker, if I may?
I'm gonna read this verbatim.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna read this verbatim because, man, this
Tell you
speaks
it's
volumes.
From.
This is a quote from Arkansas State head coach Butch Jones, who many will remember as the head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers several years back. This is a guy that has been around the block a time or two in his day. And this is what he had to say about the Oklahoma team that humiliated his Arkansas State Red Wolves earlier this afternoon. Quote, "There was a marked difference with this football team than what we saw on video. They're tough. They're physical. I thought they out-athleted us," whatever that means. "The speed differential is probably the most glaring I've probably seen in my career." So if you take nothing else away from that Butch Jones quote, what you ought to take away is that the Arkansas State Red Wolves saw one Oklahoma team on tape, and then an entirely different Oklahoma team showed up to Owen Field this morning.
Yeah, I there's a lot to unpack there, just because I think, number one, when you look at it, the quote at face value is, hey, guess what? They have really good athletes. They're really fast on defense and offense. They're going to be tough. Okay, well, that's really simplistic way to look at it. It's probably the right way to look at it, but I'm going to unpack it a little bit and say this is what's called recruiting and transfer portal recruiting. This is how you completely change the whole dynamic of your roster by bringing in guys like a Rondell Bothroyd, who was so close to having like 6 different sacks today. Like, they rolled away from him once. And I think another thing to add to this is, here pretty soon, when they roll away from Rondell Bothroyd, they're going to roll into the arms of our Mason Thomas when he comes back. There will be we're going to roll away from the pressure anymore, because the pressure is going to be coming from both sides. So there's that. The safety position, I mean, I think we all can agree that Reggie Pearson added a different element alongside of Billy Bowman, and Peyton Bowen being back there added a different element alongside Billy Bowman as well. And obviously, or vice versa, whenever they were all out there together, there was just more speed than normal. And guess what? As Brent Venables, I don't know. Did you get to see that quote when I asked him about the safety room? And he said, when Robert Spears Jennings comes back, it's gonna be really like that safety room is something they're really proud of at this point. He'll be back next week. And then you add Gentry Williams, and we all know Gentry Williams can run. He's long, athletic. And to back them up, they had Makari Vickers and Jacoby Johnson. Those are not small human beings that can't run. They're big, large human beings that are long and fast. And then you have Jaron Kanik alongside Danny Stutzman. It was a defense, guys, that was just new across the board. And everybody we just named were either one of the top transfers at their position or top players coming out of high school at their position, ranked in the top 150. That's how you build a defense. That's the difference. Anybody want to compound on that?
I think my main takeaway, no, I agree with you, Brandon. I think my main takeaway from that Butch Jones quote is that's the whole undercurrent of the game today is how much stock should fans put into the result today. And that's something that I think we can all get into more. And Brandon, you've already delved into that a little bit. But for me, it's, you want to know how much stock you should put in the game? Listen to that quote from the opposing head coach who said, "Oh, we came into this game expecting one thing and we got a completely different thing. We got a more physical, more talented, better athletes than we expected." Now, again, that doesn't mean it's the end all be all, but to me, that's if you want something you can grab onto, it's listen to the opposing head coach who said that when he simply did not have to. If you want to take some stock into this game, feel like it is a true turning point, listen to the opposing head coach talk about it. That's my takeaway from that.
He coached at Alabama with Nick Saban. He knows a little bit about speed and talent and athleticism and physicality. He coached at Tennessee, for God's sakes, and they weren't bad Tennessee teams when he was there. That's the crazy thing about it. Parker, you were on the field. Was there anything to you on the field that you were just kind of at field level that you were just like, man, this doesn't look the same?
Oh, man. I'll tell you this much, and this is not necessarily a field exclusive or field level exclusive observation, but I thought what was really encouraging today was to see Oklahoma commit no unforced errors, no major unforced errors. Obviously, there was a play here, a play there where there could have been a tackle made and there wasn't, or there was a coverage assignment that was misunderstood. And, it wasn't a perfect game, but my goodness, man, 73-0, that's about as close to perfect as you're going to get in week one, when a lot of teams are working out the kinks. And you see this nationally right now as we sit here recording this podcast. Guys, Baylor, a team that beat Oklahoma last year, is getting shellacked at home by Texas State. So there are teams that are working out the kinks in week one, and that's understandable because there's a world of difference between thinking you have it figured out on the practice field and figuring it out at game speed on Saturdays and ironing out all of the kinks in your game plan and getting your team to play cohesively. Oklahoma did not struggle with that even for a moment today. And Arkansas State, they had what 2 drives into Oklahoma territory, at least deep into Oklahoma territory, and came away with field goal attempts on both occasions. Both of those field goals were missed. There you have it. It's a shutout. But I think what was most encouraging to me was simply to see Oklahoma win a game the way that they should win a game and dominate an opponent the way that they ought to have dominated that opponent from start to finish. I would say whatever expectations we had for this Oklahoma football team today, they were actually exceeded. I don't think anybody was I don't think anybody would have said Oklahoma was going to win this game 73-0 today. So the very nature of how lopsided this game was speaks volumes for where Oklahoma is as a football program right now. And obviously, you take it all with a grain of salt because it's Arkansas State and it's 60 minutes. It's a very small sample size, but there's a lot to be encouraged about. And this does just look like a more physically imposing football team and also a team that plays with more aggression, I believe. And those are the things that you can, like, there are certain things that you observe about a game like this, that you take away from a game like this. And it's almost like you have to add a caveat because it's Arkansas State, right? Because it's a vastly inferior opponent. But I do believe there are certain things you can pick up from a game like this. And there are conclusions you can draw based off of those things because at least as far as mentality is concerned, as far as that level of aggression is concerned, there's no apparent reason why Oklahoma would trot into a matchup with, say, Iowa State or TCU or UCF with a mentality that is any different. And so as long as this team displays the type of aggression on both sides of the ball that they did today, and also the level of precision, this is a team that, as we've talked about, it has the opportunity to win a lot of football games in the year 2023. I also think, if there is a lead from this game, if there is a top storyline, you could go one or two places. Obviously, Gavin Freeman was tremendous, set the tone early with that 82-yard punt return touchdown. But the quarterback play, man, the quarterback play today left almost nothing to be desired because Dylan Gabriel was darn near flawless, 19 of 22 for 308 yards and 3 touchdowns in 1.5 of play. Jackson Arnold comes in. He didn't have an incompletion, fellas. 11 for 11 in his first taste.
Quietest 11-11 of all time, dude. Quietest 11-11 of all time. Did you even realize he had 0 incompletions when the game was over?
Oh, yeah.
It crossed your mind? Did it cross your mind, Jesse?
I don't know if it crossed my mind, but it did appear to me while watching the game that Jackson Arnold was dang near as good as you could have ever hoped him to be in his college debut.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter who it was against, but also the important note to all of that is that Jackson Arnold and Dylan Gabriel combined went 30 of 33 and set a new OU school record for completion percentage. That doesn't matter who the opponent. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. They literally set the dang school record for completion percentage. They completed 91% of their passes combined.
That is hard to do on air, let alone another 11 dudes on the other side chasing after you and guarding your receivers. That is impressive. So we've talked about how much stock you want to bring into this, and we want to take it in. We're like, yeah, it's Arkansas State. They were 3-9 last year. They brought in Butch Jones now to try to fix the thing, and he's brought in some transfers here and there, and they're not the Arkansas State they were 2-3 years ago that was a bowl team.
Sure.
Like we realize that. At least that's not what we see today.
Yeah. Well, and to me, here's the difference between 2022 Oklahoma after week 1 and 2023 Oklahoma after week 1. They made a legitimately strong impression today. Last year in the season opener, it was just kind of ho-hum. Okay, you beat UTEP 45-13. Very, very mundane in essence that day. The Sooners won the game the way that they should have won it. The outcome was never in doubt. But they took Arkansas State behind the woodshed today. I mean, they did. They were relentless for 60 minutes, and it didn't matter who was on the field from an individual perspective, the Sooners played 87 different players today. 87 different players saw game snaps for this program. And I think, I was talking about it several minutes ago. What can you take away from a game like this? And I think when you see a team play with that level of aggression that we saw from Oklahoma today, that leaves you encouraged as to the type of mentality that they're going to bring into conference play. And I think the one play that really highlighted that reality to me was, and you'll remember this play, Brandon, because this is your guy, Gentry Williams coming downhill.
Yeah.
I believe this was late first quarter, early second quarter, to stop a ball carrier. They tried a little swing pass out to the towards their sideline. Gentry Williams comes streaking downhill, stops him in his tracks for a 6-yard loss, pops up off the turf. He's pumped. His teammates are pumped. But like a play accompanied by and underscored by that type of swagger, that type of desire, man, that's we haven't seen much of that at Oklahoma in recent years. We haven't.
So when was the last time we saw somebody at the cornerback position play that physical? Because that wasn't the only time Gentry did that today. You might remember this. I think it was in the second quarter, and I think Arkansas State had a 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, something to that extent. And it was like one of the few times I witnessed them run a stunt on the D-line or a slant, or it was a run slant. It was almost like they called it. But Gentry came flying in with Kip Lewis, and absolutely, both those dudes absolutely knocked Arkansas State's running back another 2 yards, with just how physical and the force that they hit him with, to the point where it was a no gain instead of a maybe 1, 2, 3 yard gain, and they had to punt. And to me, that Woody Washington has always been physical, but Oklahoma's always lagged. And until the middle of last year, when CJ Colden decided, when he got healthy and everything started to come together, they've always lacked the other guy the last few years, right? It's always been Woody Washington, and who's going to fill that other spot, right? That's been since 2020 the question, correct? Woody Washington and. Well, is there any doubt at this point that it's Woody Washington and Gentry Williams? And to find that in week 1, after there was an or next to the names, you see what I'm saying? Like that has to be encouraging, super encouraging. And they missed some guys today, like not just regular guys. They missed big name players. R. Mason Thomas, Gavin Sawchuk. Those are type of guys you just don't just walk through the door and like, yeah, it's okay, we're missing them. If it was a big game, they would be missed. You would notice it. And I think the fact that they went out there and they did their job, we watched Texas struggle against Rice. Like I said, Oklahoma State struggling against Central Arkansas. Baylor, Texas State, I mean. Who else struggled today that was just shockingly?
Nationally?
Still, yeah, just
I'll tell you, Oklahoma State's getting all they can handle from Central Arkansas right now.
That's what I just said.
13-7.
Central Arkansas.
13-7 late third quarter.
Can handle, man. I'm keeping tabs on this game as we're sitting here. I guess Mike Gundy just put his kid in at quarterback. So there's that.
Are they gonna pan in? He's like,
I mean,
y'all remember that with the shaky hands?
Yes, the shaky hands. Oh, that was up in Manhattan, I think. Yeah, because Kansas State was just whitewashing.
The game was over at that point too. And
it was like 55-0 or something like that. But I mean, as of right now, in the current landscape of college football, what's already happened through less than one full week of action is the national runner-up a year ago got knocked off by an admittedly revamped team, but a team that won one game last year. So again, like there is something to be said for coming out of the gate hot in week one and just absolutely throttling your opponent and not playing with your food even for a second, which has been a struggle for Oklahoma in the past. Heck, it was a struggle last year. Even as impressive as that non-conference slate looked, like if you were to have evaluated Oklahoma's 3 non-conference matchups last year after the Nebraska game, you go, okay, UTEP 45-13, Kent State 33-3, Nebraska 49-14. Well, gosh, can't script it much better than that, right? Well, if you watch the first half of that Kent State game, you know how rocky it was for Oklahoma at a certain point with a far inferior opponent.
Yeah, OU Insider subscribers are tired of me mentioning this at some point, but OU was down 3-0 for almost that entire first half against Kent State. That offense couldn't get anything going. The defense was just on the field. Kent State was chewing clock. If it hadn't been for a Marvin Mims touchdown, I think in the last minute and a half of that first half, OU would have went into halftime against Kent State trailing 3-0. You can't. That's the thing. And Parker, you mentioned that play from Gentry Williams. There was 2 plays I really noted defensively. It was that play, and it was either late in the first quarter or early in the second quarter. It was the play before Arkansas State's first field goal attempt from like 44 yards out. It was like a 3rd and 8. Jordan Kelly got off a block and got a tackle for loss for 2 or 3 yards. And if he doesn't get that tackle, I think it's possible Arkansas State picks up the first down on that play. But Jordan Kelly gets off a block, and instead of it being first down, it's 4th and 10. They force a 44-yard field goal, and they miss. And it's little things like that. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. It's little things like that OU simply missed last year. And if you go back and look at the replay, that's Jordan Kelly fighting hard against a block, making a play that needed to be made, and it had a huge impact in the game. It's the kind of thing that it's not going to show up in the box score. It's not going to be something that everybody remembers. But if you're watching the game, those are the type of plays that make the biggest difference. And those are the plays OU wasn't making last year.
You are absolutely correct. That is a play. Like the second you said, when you started talking, you said Jordan Kelly. That was the first play that actually came to my mind, because you and I discussed, we're like, wow, like that was kind of big in the press box. And yeah, that's different. To go back to your Kent State thing, I think it's funny to kind of rehash things sometimes. Do you remember the excuses all of us, media, fans alike, were making last year when they struggled against Kent State? So did Georgia. Georgia struggled hard.
And
Oklahoma beat them worse than Georgia did. You know, we're trying to make games transitive, right? Like, oh, well, that game compared to this game and all that. Well, that's not reality. Reality is how you play that Saturday is all that matters. Because, prime example, Oklahoma barely beat Oklahoma State in 2000. I'm just an example. Barely beat Oklahoma State 12-7. That Oklahoma State team was like 3-8 or 4-7 or something to that extent at that time. And then they go out and they dominate, or they beat K-State, and then they beat Florida State. But if you watch that Oklahoma State game, they would say there's no business Oklahoma should be in the national title, even though they were undefeated. Point is that the game, how you play that day is all that matters. Like, that is all that matters. Comparing how this team or that team. Now watch, we're going to be doing that later on in the year because we're humans. And that's what we do. Whether we say it's right or not, that's what we do. But what Oklahoma did today, I don't give a damn if it was against Helen Keller, Sister of the Blind, or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, that was impressive. That was impressive. And that's not a, like, I always have Parker can tell you, there's always going to be one offbeat quote that I'm going to say every podcast or every live that you're going to cringe a little bit. I say it because that's what I do. I say things that people think sometimes, and I'm okay with that. But my point is that it doesn't matter. They did their job. Like you all said, they did what they're supposed to do.
Well, and it also, like, let's not act like Arkansas State is, well, to go back to the last time Oklahoma beat a team that soundly, let's not act like Arkansas State is Western Carolina, right? Like Arkansas
They are
State
not.
is an FBS football program. You beat any FBS football program by 73 points. That's something to be proud of.
Well, I mean, they could have been Oklahoma State against an FCS team and be 13-7 with 14:52 left in the fourth quarter right now. Not a shot at Oklahoma State. This is just awful, awful game to watch. Like, it's rough to watch. Let's talk about the quarterbacks, because we talked about them a little bit, right? 30 for 33, school record, 91% school record completion percentage. But I have to say, like, they were so in control of the game from start to finish, whether it was Dylan Gabriel, whether it was Jackson Arnold. And to listen to Jackson Arnold talk, I didn't get to hear Dylan because I was with the coordinators for us at the time. To hear Jackson Arnold speak and him say, I wasn't nervous, and I've known the kid for a long time. That kid gets nervous before games. Like, that is his thing, like, to where he almost feels like he's going to throw up, nervous. He's always been that way. And for him to say he was not that way, if he is going to be like that the rest of his career at the University of Oklahoma, oof. Because there's a couple of players that I've talked to, they all feel like he's got a statue coming his way at some point. Like, they all legitimately feel that way. And there's not much that we saw today that would dispute that. He was downright nasty. And on his birthday, so happy birthday to Jackson.
I was really impressed by Jackson Arnold, because this was not a, hey, the game is out of hand, let's let Jackson Arnold come in the game, and let's let him hand off the ball 90% of the time. Any passing plays, it's going to be a 5-yard out, it's going to be a dump off. That's not what they did. And Jeff Lebby specifically said on Jackson Arnold's rushing touchdown, it was two things. Jackson Arnold said, no, I asked for Jeff Lebby to call a running play for me, and Jeff Lebby said no. We wanted to get Jackson Arnold in there. I think almost word for word the quote was, we didn't want Jackson Arnold to come back into the locker room with a clean uniform. We wanted him to get
exactly
dirty.
what he said. Yep.
That's what he said.
Yep.
And Jackson Arnold, not only was that running touchdown really impressive, but I actually thought that touchdown pass to Jaden Gibson was really impressive, because it was not a perfectly thrown ball. It was not a perfectly thrown ball.
That
wasn't. I'm not.
That was an outstanding catch by one Jaden Gibson, who had, like, and there were a lot of fans that had taken Jaden Gibson to task, somewhat understandably so, because of his history of drops. To make a play like that and help not necessarily reverse the narrative, but at the very least make folks even briefly forget about the drops in the spring game, the drops last season as a true freshman, just to put all that to bed for one moment and make a spectacular grab like that. That was pretty big for Jaden Gibson.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I thought it was really, if you want to say a play that might be the most meaningful, it might have been that play, because of everything you just said, Parker, about Jaden Gibson trying to get through the narrative that, somewhat reasonable that he has drops. But also, again, Jackson Arnold, that it's not like you came away from that play thinking, oh my God, that was an incredible throw. What a play by Jackson Arnold. I think it was just more of the taking a risk. It was not being scared to make that kind of throw. It's 20 yards out towards the back left corner of the end zone. My wide receiver down there is 6'5". Let me throw it to him down there. And those are the kind of plays, even if it's not a perfect throw, it's the not being scared. It's the being confident. It's the being willing to learn from mistakes. And regardless, if you come away from a half against an FBS opponent your first time on the field and you go 11 for 11 for 114 yards and a touchdown, and it's not just little dink and dime throws, it's trying to get stuff down the field, you can't really ask for a whole lot more than that.
I asked Jeff Lebby about Jaden Gibson, and I said, he's, like you said, been taking a task for the fans, even, himself to an extent, kind of, I guess, he understood that he hasn't had the best career at Oklahoma up to this point, whether in game or in the spring game or whatnot. When the crowd's in the stands, he's kind of tensed up and not made a play. And I said, were you shocked by all that? And what does that do to you as a play caller? He goes, obviously now we know he's going to go do it. Like the confidence is there now. And we have another weapon. He didn't do it once. He did it twice today where he made a catch over a 50-50 ball. And
he could have scored on that first one in that first half.
Yeah,
he could have scored on that first one.
Yeah. And he said it just gives the quarterbacks confidence. Like, hey, and of all people, Jackson Arnold, of all people, should have the least confidence in Jaden Gibson after driving the offense during the spring game down 90 yards, throwing him a pass, he drops. So I think Jackson's up running the ball in for the touchdown to tie it up or whatever, or I can't remember what it was. And then they go for two, right, to make it kind of climactic. And Jackson runs around and he hits Jaden Gibson right square in the numbers in the back of the end zone and just drops it. Perfect pass too. And for anybody, that's got to be at that moment, you're going to have the least amount of confidence in that guy. And yet Jackson didn't. He threw it up to him. He said, go get it. And he did. I have a funny feeling that those two guys that we've been harping about for like the last year and a half now, and Nick Anderson and Jaden Gibson, I have a funny feeling they're going to start making some big plays for Oklahoma. Those particular type of plays.
Was Nick Anderson
because I think
receiver today?
Was what?
Is my memory served me correctly?
Yeah, he had a catch.
68.
He had like a long catch down the sideline.
Yeah.
Nick Anderson had 68 receiving yards. That was the most on the team today.
There you go. So yeah, everybody ate today, and so you can hand out a lot of game balls individually, but I think three guys really stood out.
He had more yards than Andrew Anthony.
Yep.
Yeah, well, and I was
what?
So Anthony, Nick Anderson, and Jaden Gibson, I feel like are the three guys that kind of won the day as far as the receivers go. Which is, like if you were kind of parsing down what Oklahoma's receiver room looks like physically, and you were kind of arranging the room into categories, those three would fall into the same circle in the Venn diagram, right? They're guys that have size and they're guys that have speed. Now, Oklahoma's got plenty of speed guys. They've got some size guys. I think Andrell Anthony and Nick Anderson, especially, and to a certain extent, Jaden Gibson as well. But I think the common denominator between all three of those guys is that they've got the ability to beat you downfield, or they've got the ability to beat you in jump ball situations where they just got to use that frame and that catch radius to go make a play. And so, man, if the Sooners can, and if Jeff Lebby more specifically can unlock some opportunities for even just one of those three guys on a regular basis, let alone all three, then you're talking about a world of new possibilities for this Oklahoma passing attack, because those are three absolute specimens, and you saw it in some of the plays that they made today.
Did anybody have this on their bingo card of Jalil Farouk having 0 yards receiving? I didn't see that one coming. He only had 2 targets.
I don't think Austin Stogner caught a pass either.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. But tight end, I didn't expect them to go to the tight end today. I expected them to run the ball and try to put pressure on the outside. And they did because, and this is why, because why would you show all that against Arkansas State? Make them not cover the center of the field and cover the outside, and wait till you play an SMU or a Iowa State or Cincinnati, later on in the season, which is next week, obviously. because I don't think if you don't use the center of the field against SMU, I think you're screwed. They did not throw it to the center of the field one time today. Think about that. Anybody remember a pass caught across the middle? I don't.
Yeah, I'm trying to
You're
think.
That's
muted.
pretty true. That's pretty true. Like
I'm trying to
they
think.
did not really hit the middle of the field much at all.
No,
I
the
can
only
recall a couple, but
the main thing I can think of that Andrell Anthony that 45-yard pass on the
Yeah, as a
first
post route, but I'm
drive,
saying
but
like
it's
I'm
not.
saying
But
like
that's like
yeah.
the only thing I can think of is sort of being in the middle of the field.
Yeah, well, they did not try any intermediate passes across the middle. They have to do that. That's been a knock on Dylan this whole time. Is everybody wants to get on to him about, oh, you don't throw it across the middle, you don't do this. Well, they have proof again, but I think this was by design. I really do. I really believe this was by design that they did not go across the middle today. I I don't know how much more we can dive into this game. I think we should just do our offense and defensive MVPs and each take one and say why, and then we can close this thing out with a little bit of recruiting talk of who was on campus and the officials and whatnot, and close this thing out. I guess I'll go first since I brought it up. Offensive MVP. I think the easy one is Dylan Gabriel. I think the other easy one is probably Andrew Anthony, but I'm going to combine it with special teams, and I'm going to go Gavin Freeman. He had a really good day. He was good at blocking. He was good at punt return, special at punt return, not just good. He was downright electric at punt return. And he was fun to watch. Every time he got the ball in his hands, he was just fun. And so I'm going to go Gavin Freeman. He had 2 touchdowns today, one special team, one by reception. I think he only had like 19, 20 yards receiving, something to that extent. Yeah. He was 4 for 4 with 19 yards receiving and a touchdown. But he also had the punt return. So I'm going to go with him there. And defensively, I'm going to say Gentry Williams. I know that's kind of off the cuff, but he made some plays today that were just it showed the difference between last year and this year's defense. The physicality on the outside. We knew Kanik and Stutzman. We know they're going to be good. We know they're really good linebackers. That is not out of that. We understand that. The question is how physical are they going to be on the outside? And how good are they going to be up front? And I don't think they did anything up front. I actually talked to somebody after the game that said, hey, we didn't do anything. All we wanted to do was engage. It's literally what they told me. Engage, fight off the block. We didn't want to show a whole lot. And they didn't. They succeeded in that, and they still were super successful with the run game, defense, and even in the pass game defense. So I thought it was huge that the outside guys play well, and Gentry Williams played really well today. So he's going to be my MVP, mainly because of the 2 plays, the third down play, and obviously the bubble screen. Huge plays. And even in the moment, they were big plays. So what do y'all got?
I will say, so I agree with you. I like the Gavin Freeman pick. Parker will attest that I've been very, very high on Gavin Freeman since the spring. Been very, very, very high on him. That has only been solidified. But in the interest of not going the obvious route, Dylan Gabriel, and not copying your Gavin Freeman pick, Brandon, I'm going to say Tawi Walker because I honestly thought Tawi Walker, and one of the things that Parker and I talked about on a quick slants before, or this past week was, look, are Javante Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk probably going to be the 1A, 1B? Do we still expect that to happen in the backfield? Yes. But was this an opportunity? Are these first couple games an opportunity for someone like Marcus Major and Tawi Walker to show that they deserve time on the field? And I thought, yes, going into the game. And Tawi Walker showed me something.
He
8
started.
carries.
He
did.
started today.
Yep.
Good on that kid. Because he, and if you know his backstory, you know how, frankly, unbelievable it is that he is starting a game at running back for a blue blood program like the University of Oklahoma in 2023. Good on that kid. He had 2 touchdown runs.
Yep.
One of just 2 guys that scored multiple touchdowns of their own accord today, him and Gavin Freeman.
8
it's
carries.
A lot like, real quick, it's a lot like, what was the kid from Lawton back in 2011, 2010?
Shoot, I don't know.
That walked on. Oh my
Dominique
gosh.
Whaley, is that who you're thinking of?
Dominique Whaley, thank you. Dominique Whaley. Yes,
Nice.
it's a lot. It's a very similar story. Very similar. Hopefully this outcome is much better than his in the end. Obviously, I think Tawi's already broke his leg twice. Is that correct, in high school? And that's why he went JUCO? Is that the correct story on that?
Something like
And
that,
it ruined
Something like that.
Yeah. And a broken leg is what literally cost Dominic Whaley a career year at Oklahoma in 2011. So, man, if he can, that'd be awesome if that happens again. So, anyways, go ahead, Jesse. Sorry, we totally derailed that.
Oh, no, you're good. That running back room look, and that's another discussion. Like, Javonte Barnes didn't come in until the 3rd possession of the game, but still led the team in carries with 13. But Tawi Walker showed me something. 8 carries, 44 yards. He had the best yards per carry average of anybody not named Jackson Arnold. He averaged 5.5 yards per game. Javonte Barnes, 3.8. Marcus Major, 3.4. I thought Tawi Walker ran really hard. I think everything we heard about him in fall camp about how the first guy never gets him down. I think we saw that today. And again, am I saying Tawi Walker is going to rush for 1,000,000 yards this year? I'm not saying that, but did I see something from him or he put on a pretty compelling case that he deserves some carries? I think he did. And I mean, for him to not only get the start, but I think in some ways, have a better performance than any other running back on the team. I thought that was impressive. So I'll say him as kind of an under the radar guy that might get lost in the shuffle. And then defensively I was going to say Gentry Williams because I think that's a really good call. Parker, again, that play you mentioned where he blew up that wide receiver kind of, that perimeter pass. I thought that was really impressive. Outside of that, I mean, I thought Kobe McKenzie was good. I thought Danny Stutzman was good. I thought Jaron Kanik was good, but I really liked what I saw from Peyton Bowen. I really did. I thought
there we go, baby.
Yeah, I really liked what I saw from Peyton Bowen. I thought he was a guy that looked like he belonged.
He was good.
So fast.
He had the loudest hit.
Fast.
He had the loudest hit of the day, let me tell you.
Yes, he did. And he's just so fast. He adds a dimension to this team that they desperately need. He's not scared to go hit somebody. He'll go hit somebody. He's not scared at all to go hit somebody. And I mean, his line is not overly impressive. I mean, just 3 tackles. But I really liked what I saw from him. He played early and often. He's going to have a huge role. He's going to bring necessary speed to this defense. I thought we saw that today. And hey, you want someone to go hit somebody? That's Peyton Bowen. So in the interest of not picking Gentry Williams, I'm going to go with Peyton Bowen.
Yeah, well, if y'all want to be kitschy, I guess I'll go ahead and be the boring one. I'll pick Dylan Gabriel as my offensive MVP. I mean, here's the thing. Given what Arnold did today, and we talked about this at the press conference after the game, if Dylan Gabriel doesn't go a clean 19 for 22, 308 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Arnold follows up with the type of performance that he had, the post-game discourse would be very, very intriguing. But as it and honestly, any freshman quarterback who's a 5-star, if he comes in his debut and completes all 11 passes and has about as efficient and mistake-free a performance as you could ask for, throws for a touchdown, runs for a touchdown, there's going to be a lot of good buzz. A lot of, well, and not necessarily not necessarily hype, because hype is a very empty term. We know what Oklahoma has in Jackson Arnold. We know what he's going to be, but I think the fact that you don't see people trying to play up a quarterback competition in the aftermath of this game speaks to how effective Dillon Gabriel was today in the half that he was behind center. And
Can
he
I
took some
can I say
shots.
something real quick
He put
about
some throws where they needed to be. Yeah, go ahead. What do you got?
No, I just no, just something I thought of just now, just because what you said is so true, Parker. What you said is so true about the post game discourse if it was different. Because OU fans probably know exactly where I'm probably headed here. During the spring game of 2014, OU or yeah, 2014. In 2013, they were returning Trevor Knight after the famous Alabama game, right? And in the Sugar Bowl. Baker Mayfield shows up for spring practice. You know, he was the offensive freshman of the year. He's still the backup to one Trevor Knight. What did he do in the spring game? When I think he was like 13 for 13 or something like that in the spring game. He was unbelievable. And then what did Caleb Williams do backing up Spencer Rattler? Very similar scenarios here, but except for spring game, he was like 10 for 11.
10 for 11, 99 yards, and ran for another 61
Correct.
that day.
Yeah. So my point is what was happening after that? Like, oh my God, those two have to be the starters. You know, this, and this. Obviously, Baker Mayfield wasn't eligible. He couldn't play, or at least they were suing the NCAA or appealing or whatever at that point. But it was scary for both the starters at that point, and everything was heated. But like you said, Dillon did his thing. There was nothing to worry about. Both the starters in those two scenarios sucked in the spring games. They were absolutely atrocious.
Yeah.
So, like you said, Dillon took care of business and nobody's saying anything. Like,
yeah, not even
great point.
Not even the most hypercritical of Dillon Gabriel and his performance in the past, and obviously his those who are critical of his limitations as a quarterback and will consistently harp on those. Not even those people that just refuse to give any due credit to Gabriel. Not even those folks can sit here today and even have bones to pick with his performance, because he didn't really leave any margin. You know, like we said, 19 to 22, 308 yards, 3 touchdowns. It wasn't as if he left the door halfway open for Arnold to come in in the second half after the intermission and get people talking about the potential of a quarterback competition. No, Dillon Gabriel was outstanding today, and easy choice for MVP in my mind. Defensively, you could go a lot of different directions. Nobody had more than 4 tackles today. So that's kind of a natural consequence of playing 87 guys total. You don't really have a defensive standout, a true defensive standout. I will say, how about I'll do this. I'll give the game ball to the guy that generated the only turnover of the day, and that was Kenai Walker, a guy who really needed a big play, because I'm not necessarily sure it's through any fault of his own. It's just Oklahoma's got some really talented freshman cornerbacks. Kendall Dolby coming in from JUCO is talented in his own right. Kenai Walker needed a play like that. That's a guy that really needed a play like that to, at the very least, instill some self-confidence that he is capable of holding his own on the depth chart alongside guys like Josiah Wagner and Makari Vickers and Dolby, who have shown up and don't have as much experience within the Oklahoma defense, but have simply been dogs on the practice field and refuse to let anybody on that depth chart take anything for granted, and continually pushed and pushed and pushed for playing time. So Kenai Walker, more so than just about anybody on that defense, honestly, at least in the secondary, it's a guy that needed a big play like that. And so it was good to see him get one.
Yeah. I mean, you dominated. I don't know much much more we can say about the game. I do want to. Kobe McKenzie looked really good. I know it was he only played like a quarter or two, but I was standing on the sideline watching him in the final quarter. Man, does he is so instinctive and he's so powerful when he hits you. If he can ever learn to be more complete while playing in space, he might end up being the best linebacker on the team. That's his biggest flaw is playing in space. Your allergies are killing you, aren't they, Parker?
They really are, man. They are brutal
You
today.
look so drowsy. I was like that earlier today. I fell asleep on the couch
I woke up
after the game because
yesterday
my
and it
allergies were
was
so tired.
September 1st and I was
Yeah,
sneezing uncontrollably. So fall's officially here.
very nice or unfortunate, actually. Um, let's talk recruiting real quick. Obviously, let me pull up the handy dandy list of visitors. I gotta get to it real quick. Sorry about that. This is
How about we
bad. This
just
is
start
bad
with the official
podcasting.
visitors?
There you go. While I
Let's just
go there,
start
you
with
go
the
first,
official visitors.
and I'll get
Everything
there.
went really well today with Danny Lockenkumi, the 3-star offensive lineman from London. Spent a lot of time with Michael Hawkins and his younger brother Malik. Spent a lot of time with the other official visitor, 4-star Tulsa area edge rusher Danny Okoye. And I did Terry Bussey make it in, Brandon? Because that was not a guy that I saw down there on the field. Do we know if Terry Bussey made it in?
That I text him. He has not gotten back to me. So, um, I don't know. I am looking to do that. Somebody is, yeah, I don't know. At all. So, I wish I did. He was supposed to be there. I have not seen a photo, and I do not believe he has not texted me back yet. But I'll tell you this: I will find out within the next 30 minutes. Unfortunately, we will not be recording this podcast. If we are, shoot me now. Um, as far as the unofficial visitors, it was a really good list, Parker and Jesse. A really good list. Obviously, Michael, 4-star athlete, Michael Boganowski. Obviously, Peyton Bowen, Eli Bowen, Peyton Bowen's little brother. Oklahoma commit as well. Was in town, 4-star defensive back. 4-star safety commit, Jaden Hardy. 3-star running back athlete commit, Xavier Robinson. This is all 24 guys. O-line commit, Joshua Sosa. Athlete commit, Andy Bass. Michael Patterson McDonald, 4-star DB commit. And then in the 25 class, Michael Fasusi, Kevin Sperry, 4-star quarterback commit. Michael Fasusi, 5-star offensive line target. And OU leads for him. We can just throw that out there. That's good news. 4-star tight end out of Washington, Nate Roberts, Washington, Oklahoma. 4-star athlete, Elijah Thomas. 4-star defensive end, athlete out of Weatherford, Oklahoma, CJ Nixon. Elijah Thomas is committed, if you all don't know. Jaden Nickens, 4-star wide receiver out of Millwood, commit, was in town. Michael Turner Jr., you might remember that name if you've watched NFL in the last decade, 15 years. Really good running back for the San Diego Chargers for a while. His son was in town. Kamari Moore, 3-star 2025 defensive tackle commit. Xavier Ukponu? Is that how you say it, Parker? You'll know. Is that it? Ukponu? Yes, no, maybe. You're muted. Boo.
Why am I muted? This
I
is
don't know.
ridiculous.
Is it
Allergies are
Ukponu
clearly affecting my
or
brain space
Ukpunu?
too.
Puno?
It's
I want to say
Uponu.
right. Uponu? Okay.
Yeah.
So the K is silent. Awesome. And then obviously Colin Peacock, safety offer out of 2025 safety offer out of Gunter, Texas. Colton Yarborough out of Durant. 2026 defensive end, 4-star defensive end, mind you, out of Durant. Yeah, 2026, folks. It's there. Jackson Cantwell, a 4-star offensive lineman out of Nixa, Missouri. He's also offered DeQuane Prevost, wide receiver athlete out of Texarkana. Liberty Elu was in town, and then
Liberty
Ila. See, it's spelled whatever, doesn't matter. And then 2026 athlete cornerback out of Bethany. He has an Oklahoma offer as well. Everson Malaska, and if you don't remember that name, you should. His brother is a corner at Utah and never got an offer from the previous staff. And mind you, he is a starting cornerback for the Utah Utes. Hey, talk about evaluations, Alex Grinch. Anyways, a lot of those guys, Parker, particularly Michael Boganowski, I think that is going to intrigue Oklahoma fans. I got a note up there right now. Go to OU Insider. Got a note for you guys. And I think you'll like it. Things are moving well. Things are moving well for 4-star safety. Do you think he's going to take a visit to K-State before he announces?
Yes.
You do?
Yes, I do. He did tell me.
That could hurt some things.
Well, I was up at his game last night, as we sit here recording this, Friday night, up in Junction City, Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
He told me he was probably going to be at K-State next week. Probably. Not a sure thing.
There's room for error.
Yeah.
Room for error. All right. Well, I think Oklahoma fans will take that. I think outside of him, obviously Terry Bussey was the other big one. And Danny Okoye, look, Miguel Chavis, Sooners defensive end coach, was at Okoye's game on Friday night. And obviously Okoye only played like the first half. He went in and punted, but he never did anything else. He has a sprained AC joint, which we've reported on OU Insider, and then it was picked up by others. And then, he's in town. I think Oklahoma's in a really good spot. I actually think this visit is going to be here's the thing, and I know this sounds really, really obvious. It's either going to help Oklahoma be way out in front, or it's absolutely going to screw Oklahoma. And it all depends on how, like, the OU coaches aren't going to kiss anybody's butt. Like, that's not their way. How they treat you during the recruiting is how they treat you when you're on campus. And they pride themselves in that. Like, there's no veil over anything. They're not trying to hide anything. It's not a, sleight of hand type deal on the recruiting process for them. It's who they are is who they are, and you get what you get with them. And so I think, and I don't know this for sure, but I think there's some that would like him to be a little bit more physical sometimes, right? Like, because when he is super physical, he is the most dominant player outside of David Stone in the state of Oklahoma. Like, just flat dominant. And I know David Stone's at IMG, but when he was in Oklahoma, he was the most dominant player, period. That's why he's at IMG. Oklahoma wants Danny Okoye really badly. And they're battling Tennessee, Texas, Alabama. But it feels like it's more of an Oklahoma-Tennessee battle than anything else. And the good news is Oklahoma was smart enough to have his trainer, somebody who's very, very close with Christian Littlehead, in town with him. Very smart. Guess who else Christian Littlehead trains, Jesse?
Where?
Yes, Christian Littlehead. Who else does he train? This is really easy. I know you probably don't pay attention to it because you're our team guy, but I'm going to tell you.
Who? Tell me where.
Trains David Stone. He trains David Stone as well.
That makes sense.
So there you go. I mean, that's where it's chess, not checkers, right? Parker, chess, not checkers. Play the game. You play the game, as Herm Edwards once said. You play to win the game, and they're playing to win the game on the recruiting trail.
Oh.
All right. Do you think that Boganowski commits before October 1st?
Yes. Yes, I
do.
do.
I do too. Are you in agreement with me that if it gets past probably October 15th, that is a really bad sign for Oklahoma?
Yes.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay. Do you think he'll be a Sooner? Because I do at this point.
Yes, I do. I do believe that kid's going to be a Sooner in the end.
All right. Jesse, do you think he's going to be a Sooner? We'll include you in this. Sure.
If you guys think he is going to be
snort
a
the hopium, Jesse. Do it for the fan base.
Yes.
If you guys think he's going to be a Sooner, then I know he's going to be a Sooner.
Ooh, don't say that after Williams Winery, man.
Okay, I'm sorry. No. If you guys think so, then I'm confident in you guys and your reporting.
There we go.
That's what it is.
Hey, speaking of, let's do the glove gate real quick before we go. Williams Winery 3 weeks in a row. What say you, Park, with them? Welcome back, Missouri fans.
Yeah, well, exactly. Here's the thing. The second I say anything, it's going to get picked up on social media by the entire Missouri fan base and blown up. And I'm going to get Missouri fans all in my mentions for weeks on end again.
Hey, is it really only $9.99, look, folks?
Okay, I'll say this. I have made my feelings on the Williams Winery recruitment quite clear at this point. My opinions remain unchanged. That is all.
Okay. Well, there you go. Okay. Oklahoma won 73-0. If you are not on OU Insider, it's $9.99. The season's here. The season is upon us. And you should go to OU Insider and sign up. $9.99 will get you all the way to October 2nd. If you don't like us, move on. But guess what? OU Texas shortly after that. So you probably want to sign up to November. And you know what? That's only $20 out of your pocket for 2 months. Super, super cheap. And we love doing it. We gave away 20 tickets to OU fans to OU Arkansas State. 20. If you're a member on OU Insider, we give you tickets every week to the home games. We're giving away next week as well. We're probably going to give away less because there's less to go around, but we're going to try to give away between 6 and 10. So that means each member gets 2. That means we're going to give away at least 4 or 5 of our members will end up with tickets to the SMU game as well. And every home game we do it, and we're looking in getting OU Texas tickets for you guys as well. 2 OU Texas tickets. And the only way to do that, and the only way to win a trip to the Oklahoma Texas game, or to get $100 off, or to get an extension on your subscription, you can do that as well. You can go out to eat with all of us. If you want to, we'll take you out. You can ask us whatever you want behind the scenes. We'll tell you because it's off the record. And there's a lot to give away. Gift cards, Fanatic gift cards, fanatics.com, concert tickets. Like, we're going to do all that for you guys as a thank you for being on OU Insider. And that's the deal. It's $99.95 for a whole year, or you can just sign up for 1 month to give us a try, $9.95, and you can have OU Insider all the way to October whenever you sign up and you listen to this. So you get us for 31 days, And can't beat that. Honestly, you can't beat that. You get all the information you want, recruiting, team news, all that. We do a lot of practice reports. We've got a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that we know from the game that we're going to put up that only Parker will have from the sidelines, his stuff from the sidelines. Jesse will give his takeaways, stuff that the rumblings we hear after the game, post game, all that type of stuff. OUinsider.com. We have you covered head to toe, recruiting, team news, all that stuff. Or you can subscribe right here. Click the bell, click the subscribe on the YouTube, and make sure you get every video, interview, podcast, whatever, recruit interview, all that type of stuff will be right here on this YouTube channel. We'd love to have you here as well. And or you can go and give us 5 stars on whatever podcast platform you listen to us. Again, we can't thank you guys enough. We do this because of you. All right. That's going to do it for this version of the OU Insider Under the Visor post-game podcast. Oklahoma won 73-0. It is brought to you by Olipop. For Parker Thune, for Jesse Crittenden, my name is Brandon Drum. You guys have a blessed day.